What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sales Remastered. In this episode on Breakfast of Champions, I'm going to talk about the difference between being patient and aggressive, because I believe that there is a fine balance between the two. And sometimes with all the influence that we have around us and the access to the resources that we have at our fingertips, we could sometimes convolute the message. And we could sometimes be swayed to believe that one side is stronger than the other, when in all man, that shit was going so smooth. In all actuality, just to give you an idea of how improv and off the cuff this is, I want to let you know that none of this is scripted. A lot of the times the topic in itself is actually thought of about 2 seconds before I even start the car, and I literally hit the record button within 10 seconds after that. So what I'm going to touch on is the topic that I covered yesterday in the IG Live. IG, of course, being Instagram and live story, because those disappear in 24 hours. I wanted to make sure that I relayed the message here so that it lives eternally on the YouTube and Facebook page. Which, by the way, if you haven't checked out the YouTube or Facebook page, or if this is your first time on the page, I appreciate your support. I appreciate your comments, your shares, your likes, and more importantly, I appreciate your time. So please do so by commenting below on how you found me, on what you like about the page, if you've been following, or if you just stumbled upon it because I came up on a recommended video, or you might have just been searching the topic on fear or patience, right? Or aggressiveness and patience. Again, I didn't even know what the fuck the topic was. Anyway, why I believe that patience and aggressiveness is a fine balance is because, if you think about it, when you get influenced to be aggressive, usually the message is, hey man, you got to be aggressive. You got to go get it. Just get it. Don't wait. Be aggressive and be impatient. And then on the flip side, sometimes even from the same influencer, I know I've done it. You're getting the recommendation to be patient. Like patience is key. Patience is key. Give it time. Don't be in a rush. But then the other message was like, yo, bro, you just said be aggressive, man. Aggressive is like, hey, give it to me now. Give it to me now. Almost like stalkerish. Like, you ever do that? If you're in sales, you stalk somebody and shit. Like, you leave them 9 messages, like, within an hour. By the way, that's bad business. You never want to come off as the one in need. A little side note for my salespeople. If you want to understand how to increase your sales by phone, get your prospect to call you. Because when you call your prospects, right? Like when you call out to a lead, you're asking for something. You're the one who's in need. Get it? But if you manage to find a way to get your prospect to call you, psychologically, they're calling you because they need something. Get it? Now, the hardest thing to do is to, use that message on like an outbound call, because the outbound call is like, how am I going to get an outbound call to call me, D? What the fuck is that? I know a few of you thought about that right now. Well, actually, most outbound calls get answered by voice messages anyway, right? And so what you're doing is you're just trying to create the curiosity to make them call you back. And when they call you back, then psychologically you got the upper hand. So FYI on that, for my peoples who are relying on sales to feed their family or feed their mouth and keep their lights on, that's just one tip for you. Anyway, going back to the message of being aggressive versus being patient, what I found in my climb and in my journey, right, is that I've had different mentors throughout my life, and a few of them is always, recommended to go after your dreams, go after what you aspire, and don't let anybody stand in your way. You have to grab the bull by the horns, right? And so when you're hearing this message, you're like, okay, cool. So F everybody else, right? Who's not on my wavelength, and go get mine. And that's how I took it. And then on the flip side, I had other mentors that were just like, hey man, patience is key. You're not seeing it right now, but just keep pushing, and you got to be patient. And so when you get those two messages that are literally damn near opposite of each other, you have to find that balance. And so then the question is, okay, well, what days do I become aggressive, and then what days am I becoming, should I be patient? Should I be patient on the weekends and then aggressive Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? It doesn't necessarily work like that, at least in my experience. What I have learned in my climb, and what I have found to be more effective, is that you're actually going to use most of the patience externally, right, with other people, most in particular prospects. But again, I want to stick to the message of this being Breakfast of Champions. This is really just to feed your mind, not necessarily to train you in sales. But although a lot of the keys that you learn here is going to condition your mindset to be the absolute best in sales, so thanks for stopping by. But with regard to being patient externally, what I mean by that is, as you're on your climb and as you're trying to get to where you're at, obviously you're not there yet, right? So you have like that one saying, like, fake it till you make it, right? Like, so you gotta, you have to believe so much so that you walk, talk, and act like the person, or or operate at the level that you aspire to reach, right? So you might just be a junior, salesperson, for example, but you're suited and booted like you're a fucking VP, like that, right? Like, because you're not necessarily there in reality, but mentally you're there, right? But imagine that. So imagine like a telemarketer or whatnot dressing as smooth as the fucking CEO, right? Like, you come in dressed like the position you want to be, and you got a lot of aspirations. So you come in just suited and booted. You got your Kohl's gear on. You got that clip-on tie. Boo-boo, you rock that fucking clip-on tie. And you come in there fucking flossed out, man. You doing the floss dance and all that shit. People just like, oh shit, do your thing, boo-boo. And you look like a CEO. People mistaking you as a manager. And the thing is, though, is that you have to have patience, because there will be some people who are not on that wavelength. They're going to think you're doing extra, right? They're going to think you're doing too much. They're going to think you're way beyond your league. And you're going to hear these comments, and that is one of the most challenging things, is, to tell you the truth, you have to have the most patience with those who know you most, and especially those who love you most. Because those who love you most, like your family, your brother, your mom, your dad, your cousin, your auntie, or whatever, they're going to tell you certain things that wholeheartedly, have good reason, because they care for you. They don't want to see you get hurt. And so they might tell you things like, it's okay if you don't make it, at least you tried. Right? And you're like, the fuck, bro? You're supposed to be motivating me. I thought you loved me, fam. Anyway, you have to be patient when you hear these words, and almost be like, man, you just don't see it yet. Like, you don't realize that I will make it, So going back to the example of the telemarketer dressed like a CEO, that person would have to be patient if they came across their friends in their aisle or their cubicle or their office, and everyone was talking shit. I'm like, man, why you dress like you make a, 6-figure, 7-figure income, bro? I know you making $10 an hour, and they're going to try to see through you. Some of them are going to hate because you got bigger aspirations than them. But the key, though, is to have patience, right? And have enough discipline to be aggressive internally. And that's where most of the aggressiveness comes from, is you have to be aggressive with yourself. Like I have a message all the time. I believe we are all in sales. And, you sold yourself to wake up the time that you did. You sold yourself to go to the gym, or sold yourself not to go to the gym. You're selling yourself right now to be either mediocre or to be the absolute best that you could be. Every single day you're selling yourself to yourself, right? And same thing applies with everyone you communicate with. Like, whether it's, literally anything, getting a job, getting a sale, getting a date, right? Getting literally anything that you intend to get, you're selling the message in a way to get the reaction you want. So I believe we're all in sales. Anyway, you gotta be most aggressive when you're selling to yourself, right? Because there's the internal dialogue that creates a stimulation inside your head. And the strongest stimulation example that I have is fear. Fear is one of the strongest stimuli or stimulations that one can feel, because it will create the need to take action. Like, if you're scared of something, like, there's, you're gonna damn near do anything you can possible to avoid what you fear, right? So if you think about it, like, if a dog was running after you, or if you were in the beach and you saw a shark, You know what I mean? Like your fear is gonna fucking make you react, right? You're gonna swim faster than you've ever swam before because, you are motivated by something. Anyway, the reason why I say you got to be aggressive with yourself internally is because there are going to be times where those people who are around you, like the telemarketer, for example, that dresses like the CEO, when this telemarketer comes into their place of business or their place of work, imagine they're the only ones dressed like the CEO. Everyone else is dressed like fucking IT. Right? Everyone's dressed like help desk and shit. Like, bro, are you here to fix my computer, bro? And so, you're gonna be different, and it's human nature for people to react different to people who are different. Get it? Like, they're not reacting like themselves around people who they're familiar with because, well, they're not, you know what I mean? You're standing out, and so you become subconsciously a threat to them. And those people around you react in certain ways. And so they're going to react with maybe, comments, or they're going to react with naysaying, or they're going to react with, certain messages or looks or stares. And that shit can really get to you. And sometimes, like, we react based on the reaction of others because we sometimes, and I know I'm guilty of it sometimes, we literally, we define ourselves through the perception of others, right? So sometimes we don't define ourselves through ourself, like, hey, this is what I'm about, this is what I'm gonna be. We define ourselves what we believe everyone else thinks is cool, or what we believe everyone thinks is legit. It's a term called CYA. It's called cover your ass, right? Like, you ever hear that? Cover your ass. Like, you gotta politic, you gotta play it right? And so that's where, that's a whole nother video, and I'll definitely cover that, because politics plays a huge role. If you want, an organization or a team to work effectively, it's all about politics. You gotta be able to play both roles. Anyway, going back to being aggressive, there are times where you're going to be at your low. There are going to be times where you're doubted the most. There are going to be times where you're like, yo, man, fuck this. Maybe everyone's right. Maybe my auntie, my family, my grandpa, whoever told you those words of like, hey, man, just don't worry about it. If you don't make it, it's okay. At least you tried, right? And sometimes not everyone's on your wavelength. Not everybody is motivated as you. And those people who are not as motivated as you or on your wavelength, they're going to be typically the ones who are going to be most effective at weighing you down, because they're the ones who are around you. And since we're influenced by the sounds and the images and the influences around us, we tend to react based on their opinion. And you're doing this because you don't act a certain way when you're around certain people because they don't think it's cool, or they would judge you. Get it? Where we have to get at is to a level where we don't give a fuck how anyone else reacts, as long as you are cordial, professional, and you're not hurting nobody, right? Like, you're not just being, disrespectful and abrupt, right? You're not out there like a fucking drug dealer and shit, right? They just, no, I don't give a fuck, like, thug life and shit. Like, you're not trying to do that. But what you're trying to do is kind of walk to your own beat, right? Like, you are rocking to your own drum. And I think that's the saying. Anyway, when you get to that low, when you get challenged by those around you, you have to be aggressive with yourself to push yourself to do the things that, you in your heart feel is right, and you in your heart, is true. And so patience and being aggressive, there's that fine line. There's that, you have to be able to balance them both, but nonetheless, you need both. Patience and being aggressive. Aggressive is just another word of being persistent. Right? Like, when I say aggressive, I don't want you to like fucking come up and just be like, fuck that, I'm gonna get what I get. That's aggressive, bro. Like, what I'm talking about is being persistent. So maybe I should have just said that. Patience and persistence. You see, that's the downside of having improv shit. You think of better ideas later on, but that's the beauty of it all, because at some point I'm just gonna make another video that's gonna be a little bit more clean cut, a little bit more effective and smooth in trying to translate the message. And I think that's a good example, because practice makes perfect, right? A lot of this is just practice. A lot of this is just talking out of a message. I hit record and I speak from the hip, I speak from the mind, and I'm trying to, share with you the information that I've learned along the way, not information that I've read in a book. You You got to watch out for that. There's a lot of people that are book smart and shit, and they're going to teach you how, to be an entrepreneur, but they've never been an entrepreneur. Or they're going to teach you how to close a sale, but they've never closed a sale, right? It's kind of like a sales trainer. You ever sit in sales training and be like, bro, you don't even sell. How the fuck are you going to tell me what to do? And, I thought of that shit all the time. So, maybe you do too. But anyway, comment below. Hopefully this message makes sense. I hope that you find your balance of patience and persistence, and you understand the importance of it, because it all is a mental game. And these episodes on Breakfast of Champions, it's to help feed your brain. It's to help nourish your brain and develop a mindset that's going to help you push past these anchors that, sometimes weigh us down and hold us back from achieving what it is we want. So I wish you nothing but the best today. May all your goals be reached, and I'll see you at the top and the next video. Bye.